What's up, fam? It's your boy Demuir here, purveyor of all sounds underground. Thank you for joining me on YouTube Tuesday. As you know, we do this every Tuesday and Thursday, so I just want to thank you guys for consistently following and subscribing like you should do now. Hit that little bell, subscribe, and you'll be kept up to date with all the latest videos. So this one, I've been aching to talk about this for some time now because it's come up in conversation with other DJs and producers that I know who are progressing in their careers or had certain experiences, and it was a wonderful discussion to have. And the topic is about spotting criticism versus feedback. So first and foremost, on what we're talking about specifically when it pertains to criticism and feedback, because I think it's important that we shape context around it. And the reason why I want to talk about this is that the impact of this artistically, depending on who you are and how you respond to these situations, can really have a severe and material impact on your art. So criticism is defined two ways. We're going to focus on one of them, and I'll highlight that as I read through this. So criticism is the expression and disapproval of someone or something based on perceived faults or mistakes. The other definition of this, and it's the one we are going to focus on for the purpose of art and DJing and producing, is the analysis and judgment of the merits and faults of a literary or artistic work. That's why we have quote-unquote professionals out there that are called critics. They're deemed to be in the right position to judge through their own analysis and experience, and there's reasons why I'm highlighting through their own analysis and experience that they can define what is a merit or a fault of your work. Feedback, and you'll notice a clear difference here, is generally positive when delivered well. So feedback is about information about reactions to a product or a person's performance of a task, etc., which is used as a basis for improvement. And I think a lot of people forget about this, especially us as artists. We forget that when someone says, hey, I have some feedback for you, we immediately take it as criticism. And I know in this world of trolls and jealous people and hating people and just dumbass people in general, that can be misconceived or misperceived when it comes to delivering positive feedback. And sometimes some of these people, when they say they're delivering positive feedback, it really isn't. It's just to make them feel good. But now that we have some definition and context around it, I want to share some very specific examples I've experienced. I experienced this earlier in my career and even very recently for a completely separate project. And this is about people or organizations when you're going through a demo process, or let's say a collaborative process, where you'll find that they have very specific needs and or tendencies when it comes to the approach of a track that you're working on or how you DJ, etc., etc. And I'm just here to say that's all it is they're particular because they've attached their specifics to success. And there's nothing wrong with that. What it just means is that you got to be very keen on understanding and identifying what that particular type of, I guess, particular criticism and what that looks like and how it makes you feel at the end of the day. So the best thing I would say is if it's wrapped in a negative nature, which is very easily to distinguish, things like, oh, you got to take the sample and do it this way and da-da-da-da-da-da-da, because that's the best way to do it. When it completely disregards who you are as an artist and doesn't take into account that you may have some value to add to the process, that's how you know that particular criticism is exactly that, criticism. When it comes to being particular with feedback, it could look something like, hey, I enjoyed your song, but just a couple of suggestions I would make in these key areas. And then it's up to you to decide if you want to take that on or not. But the bottom line is they've provided some good feedback that you can walk away with and actually execute upon. The next example is a classic one when it comes to criticism, and I think it's very easy to spot, is jealousy or hating. And it's rooted in that because it'll just come out that way. Because when this type of criticism shows up, you'll notice that it has everything to do with the person experiencing the jealousy or the hate on their end. So here's a particular example that I've experienced, which is, you know what? You should probably think about doing another genre if you're going to say and do these types of things in house music or techno or whatever it is I was producing. The other thing is, and I've heard this many times, is, oh man, I'm so sick of hearing this DJ because all they play are the classics. Now, mind you, I'm a fan of that position somewhat. I don't want to hear classics, but my response to that is I just don't play classics, or I only play them at the appropriate time. But it doesn't mean that the person is whack for it. You see the difference? It's all about how the person is experiencing that other individual's art. Whereas feedback would be, you take it in for what it is and you say, here's how I'm going to perform. You never provide unsolicited feedback that no one fucking asked you for in the first place. All you're doing is exposing how insecure and how unsettled you are with your own creativity and your own art and your own vision and your own thoughts. So rather, focus on those and push those forward in a positive manner, and you'll see a lot of the good shit come back to you. Lastly, it's the 10% of the 10%. I talked about these people before. You ever look at a YouTube video and you see, hey, it's generally got a lot of likes, but there's always about 10% who will throw a thumbs down at it just because they can. And these guys are easy to spot when it comes to art as well. It's when you're hanging out and you're having general conversations about music or whatever art it is that you're into, and they always find something to fucking complain and be nagging about. It doesn't matter what it is. And again, it's all a projection of how they feel about themselves. So again, how you respond is the most important ingredient here in terms of your own progress and making sure you continue to push forward in a positive manner. You don't always got to be around the people that you think are doing very well and are successful, because if you discover that all they do is have some very frank and candid criticism most of the time, you'll also discover that their timeline will be very short, because most people who spend their time and energy criticizing others don't fucking get anywhere. That's it. Criticism versus feedback. I hope some of this resonated very well with you. And I just encourage that you keep doing your thing and make sure you are able to spot the delta, like that. The delta between criticism and feedback, being the angel that I am. All right. Peace, y'all.